Grenada is a tiny country of the Windward Islands in the eastern Caribbean. The main island is 100 miles northeast of Venezuela. Its capital is St. George, and the country has an area of 133 square miles. That is twice the size of Washington, D.C. The first Grenadians are thought to have arrived during the 1st century, followed by the Arawaks about 4 centuries later. They were followed by the Caribs in the 15th century, who violently took control of the island the Caribs called Camerhung. Both Arawaks and Caribs lived a sustainable life of hunting, fishing, and farming. Christopher Columbus sailed by during his 3rd voyage in 1498 and named it Concepcion in honor of the Virgin Mary. The French came into play in the 1600s. At first, the Caribs liked the French, inviting them to settle on the island. A few years later, they started to resist them. The French violently retaliated and wiped out almost the entire Carib population. Some survivors vaulted off what is called Leaper's Hill rather than facing enslavement. Others became slaves and befriended the imported African slaves. The slaves worked on plantations of coffee, indigo, tobacco, and sugar. In the 1760s, the English intervened the French, fighting for control of the island. They were given Grenada through the Treaty of Paris. After 20 years of seesawing between both, the French lost Grenada in the Treaty of Versailles. In 1795, a black painter named Julien Fedon led a slavery rebellion against the English, finally and effectively taking control of the island, soon crushed by English forces. Tensions remained high until slavery was abolished in 1834. 4 years later, slavery was abolished in all English colonies. Families were given a small plot of land to grow on, becoming independent farmers. Grenada was named a crown colony under English rule in 1877, then officially granted independence in 1974. Trouble struck almost 10 years later. The United States believed Grenada was going to join Cuba as the second communist nation in the Caribbean. They also had a safety concern for the hundreds of American students studying at St. George's School of Medicine. The story is that, in 1983, a group of communist Grenadian army officers seized the government and murdered then Prime Minister Maurice Bishop. With an okay from England and the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, the United States invaded Grenada. After a very brief war, the group was arrested and the medical students returned home safely. Currently, Grenada is a constitutional monarchy associated with England. They have a prime minister working under Queen Elizabeth II, who is the head of state. They have a population of about 104,000 people in 2009. Their Human Development Index is 0.813. Their GDP per capita is about $10,712. The main language there is English, but some of the older populations speak a branch of French called French Patois. Their main export is spices, such as ginger, vanilla, cloves, cinnamon, allspice, and most importantly, nutmeg. That is their most popular export. They also have an income through tourism.